chapter 2. We will take as our springboard this morning verses 1 and 2, and then we're going to skip down to verse 21. 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 1 and 2, and then skipping down to verse 21. Our time together last week, I began a new sermon series about growth within the Christian life. Growth within the Christian life. Church, understand how very important it is we grow in our faith. It is no longer acceptable to not grow. Church, I want you to understand that. That's not my words. Those are God's words. That's our Lord Jesus Christ's words. It's no longer acceptable to not be growing. It is so very vital, so very important that we grow in our faith. I've stressed this a lot. Those of you that are Sunday night, our Sunday night studies for the past, honestly, most of this year, we have been focused on that in some form or fashion, growing in our faith. I believe it's one of the most needful things in our churches across America today. One of the most needful things is for that of growth, not numerical growth in our church, but growth in the life of the believer, a depth to their faith. So often, so much of our many people in our churches, there's a shallowness to their faith. A shallowness to their faith. One of the most needful things, I think about this today, growth in our physical lives. Growth in our physical lives. It tells the whole story, does it not? Growth in our physical lives. For babies, growth tells their story, doesn't it? Newborn babies tells their story for several months. After it was pretty much for the whole first year of a newborn's life, they will be at the doctor every so many months. Those wellness checkups. Designed to determine if a baby is growing as this precious one should. If this child, a boy or girl, is growing as it should, it's important that any problems that are there be found as early as possible. Church, that's just something we practice that in infants, but you know what? All through childhood into teenage years, adult lives, the older adults, it's important to find problems early. It's important to find problems early. It's important that any problems there be found as early as possible. The earlier the problem is found, the better off it be. Church, understand, for believers, there must also be that spiritual checkup from time to time. That spiritual checkup from time to time. The tragedy of not growing. Oh, how tragic it is. We see so many folks that are not growing in their faith. How very tragic that is. Understand here that maturity should be our goal. Maturing in our faith should be the goal. Now, church, as I say that, understand here that the spiritual life, as I've said so often, mirrors what happens in the physical life. What happens in the physical realm many times mirrors what should happen in the spiritual realm. In the Christian life, you have the same thing. You have there should be a birth, there should be growth, there should be a maturity there. So, church, understand something else here. In order for us to grow in our faith as we need to, there must be some